Hey guys, today I am going to talk about the effects of being sued. And as someone who was recently sued myself, now the case did get resolved after 4 years. There is a lot of mental health, there is a lot of emotional distress, and I think Kaceytron shows the best. So both Kaceytron and Denims were looking at Denims getting ready for the real deal. They have the same law firm. That law firm is not cheap. One look at the website, one look at how many partners they have. You can tell that this is a very, very expensive law firm. In addition to this law firm out in California, which will help that makes sense for Denims. The law firm has another law firm using Pro Hawk Vice. Pro Hawk Vice. So Kaceytron actually has two law firms. So she has the same law firm as Denims, as well as the law firm in her home state, which is Missouri, I believe. So that one will allow the other one to practice in Missouri without a Missouri license. So Kaceytron is by far going to pay more money because of this unique aspect. Denims, Kaceytron, I did not know this, but her family relies solely on her as the breadwinner. It seems that no one else in her family is capable or able, and again, to work a normal 9 to 5 job or whatever you define as normal to bring income to the family. And therefore, it is up to Kaceytron as, quote, the matriarch to provide for everybody. So there is that as well, as opposed to Denims just being a single female in Los Angeles. Now, Frogan, we can get to a little later. Kaceytron mentions that Frogan's wages may be garnished. That would imply that Frogan is employed. And out of everyone who talks to Frogan, probably Kaceytron would know whether or not Frogan's employed. So if Frogan is employed, wage garnishment is also not a fun time. Now, back to the mental and the stress of like when does it actually hit you that you've made a terrible mistake? It wasn't when they were laughing about it. It wasn't when H3 Snark was still operational and telling everyone to go watch on their channels. It wasn't. They had a very different take, especially Kaceytron, when they were stealing. They thought it was all fun and jokes until they got sued. And even when they got sued, I felt that maybe Kaceytron, who made the offer $17,500, they didn't really take it seriously, as if it wouldn't be life-changing or, quote, financial ruin. Only right now has Kaceytron realized that if this lawsuit doesn't go the right way, and there is no right way for the lawsuit to go, to be quite frank with you, even if Kaceytron won, again, that's not what I'm saying, she would have to pay for her own legal fees. Her legal fees will be more than $150,000 of potential damages. That's just how lawyers are, and her law firm is incredibly expensive when you compare it to Frogan. Frogan chose the cheapest route possible, in my opinion, and maybe that has benefits. Maybe that will be worse for her. Time will tell. But when does it strike you? When does it? It's got to hit Denims and Frogan at the same time as Kaceytron, where it is just financial ruin. That is what it is. Most Americans who are involved in a lawsuit, they will face financial ruin. They will lose their homes. They will lose any credit. They might even have to file for bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy. This is something we saw in Australia, where Carl Jobs, upon losing, it turned out he didn't have that much money to begin with, then had to file for personal bankruptcy and then put everything in his wife's name. They may file for bankruptcy. It may get that bad if they cannot pay off the judgment. One of the intriguing things about this thing was they were so arrogant in the beginning, even to the point that Denims threatened to sue Ethan Klein and raised money. So let's focus on Denims now. I know we But I'm pretty sure Denon feels similar to what Kaceytron's feeling. You feel like you got hit by a truck once you see your first legal invoice. That's when it hits you. It's all fun and games until your law firm sends you that first invoice. Sometimes they withhold it. Sometimes it takes 90 days. Sometimes it takes 180 days for them to send you that first invoice. But once you get that first invoice, then you realize, oh yeah, this thing could easily, and I'm not even talking about winning or losing the case. I'm just talking about paying your lawyers. I remember in the Bailey Mitchell versus Carl Jobs, both their lawyers cost over $700,000. That's a lot of money, even though it's in Australian dollars. It is a lot of money to pay anyone to do something for you. It is the value of a house when we're talking about houses. So Denims, extremely arrogant, almost like, to the point that she was going to sue Ethan Klein for defamation, and she had even raised a significant amount of money to do so. Later, she recanted and said, you know what, I'm going to sue Ethan Klein with my own money. And then, surprisingly, she needed to raise money on a GoFundMe to defend herself. This is a super bizarre thing that is happening in our culture and our society, that a lawyer costs this much money, right? That the person who's most likely to financially ruin you isn't the court, and it isn't Ethan Klein, it is their lawyers. The biggest element in terms of expenses, again, if we look at Billy Mitchell versus Carl Jobs, the total damages was $400,000-ish. Well, one side, the plaintiff side, the lawyer, according to Carl, was over $700,000. And then Carl's own lawyer was over $700,000. Again, partially funded by his subscribers, partially funded by a billionaire. Neither, to my knowledge, these three individuals are not being sponsored by a billionaire, which would make it a lot easier to digest, right? In terms of the amount of money. The amount of money that you need for this type of lawsuit, you're talking about, assuming it's 1 year. That's best case scenario. You go to trial, it's over in 1 year. I'm not even going to talk about damages. I'm going to just talk about lawyers. How much does it cost to hire a copyright attorney 1 year later to go to trial? Technically, it's like a year and a half-ish, right? Because they've begun this process earlier. You're talking about at least $250,000. At least that amount of money is what it would cost to go to trial, get to verdict, and either win or lose. So it's a very hollow win, right? So great, you won against Ethan Klein. Again, not saying that would happen. I'm just doing best case scenario. But you spent a year and a half of your life under the financial ruin stress, which is obviously getting to Kaceytron deeply. I think it's real. I think what she's saying is real. That is affecting her mental health, because it affected my mental health. Like, it's until you've been sued and until that first legal invoice comes, you don't really know. Most people who have never been sued, they don't really know what that feeling is, because another invoice is coming. So if it's a monthly invoice, every single month a large $10,000, $12,000 invoice is coming. Maybe it starts out pretty innocently at $1,000 or $2,000, and it sneaks up to $5,000. But by the time you're in trial, you're talking about invoices upwards of $20,000, maybe even more for that week of trial. This is like all money that, like, again, it's not even that you won or lost. It's your legal fees. Now, I wish we lived in a society where legal fees were not this massive and lawyers were not paid, to be honest, that much, but that's just the market. That's how much lawyers get paid. Anyway, let me know what you got. I do think that most people being sued, whether or not they win or lose, are going to experience financial ruin from just the legal fees. It's a terrible situation, but it's America, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Bye, guys.